Welcome to my Chanel Slalia.
Refrigerator.
Loves all the boys and girls, yes.
Santa Claus has remained somewhat up for grabs. There's been a little bit of a battle over who Santa Claus is.
Our search for Santa begins not in the cold of the North Pole, but in the heat of southwest Turkey during the 3rd century. Was the birthplace of St. Nicholas, but little real evidence survives of his existence. According to legend, he was unique even as a baby, abstaining from his mother's breast until sundown on Wednesdays and Fridays, the early Christian fast days. His crown. He became the patron saint of children after resurrecting 3 boys who'd been slaughtered by a butcher during a period of famine. He's also the patron saint of sailors. But his most famous exploit deals with a poor man who had 3 daughters. The eldest was past the marrying age, the second was the right age, but nobody had asked her for her hand.
St. Nicholas hears this, and in order to help him, he throws a bag of gold coins through the window.
Pencereden içeri atar.
Over the centuries, the tale has evolved into St. Nicholas throwing bags of coins down a chimney where they landed in stockings hanging up to dry. It was this act of generosity, as well as his miraculous healing powers, that gave Nicholas his legendary status. Following his canonization in the 9th century, Nicholas became the favorite saint in the Christian calendar. Throughout Europe, thousands of churches were dedicated to him. Shops take full advantage of their world-famous inhabitant.
Father Christmas is very important for us and for the world. We are very lucky and happy that he is in our country. In fact, he is a holy man for the whole world.
Today, the old reverential statue of St. Nicholas has been sidelined, replaced by a glowing universal plastic Western Santa. How a Catholic saint was transformed into a favorite children's character is a journey that spans several continents and fuses many religions. The Romans still ruled in Nicholas's time, and the emerging Christianity gained converts by blending with existing religions. The decision to assign Christ's birthday to the 25th of December, the winter solstice on the Julian calendar, was inevitably going to be a compromise. Even so, over the centuries, St. Nicholas's popularity grew no more so than in the Netherlands. Every year, on a Sunday morning in mid-November, the quiet streets of Amsterdam are invaded by hundreds and thousands of people. They are all eagerly awaiting the arrival of the very special guest.
St. Nicholas and his servants, we call them Black Peters, are arriving from Spain in a steamer in the harbor of a big city. In the 17th century, they started to call him Sinterklaas. In English, Saint Sir Klaas. And when you pronounce it fast, then you can Sinterklaas. The Netherlands were a Roman Catholic country. But in the 16th century, we have the Reformation. And then all the Roman Catholic things were forbidden. And the feast was forbidden too.
The children believe that St. Nicholas is riding on the rooftops listening to their songs. Originally, he rode alone and was both the bringer of presents and the punisher. But then, a book of illustrated poems by an Amsterdam teacher gave the role of punisher to Black Peter.
When they were very naughty, St. Nicholas said to Black Peter, you get the naughty ones and put them in your sack. And then, when the party was over, then they believed that the naughty ones were taken back to Spain. And then after a year, they're coming back, and they were very good and very obedient and very hardworking children. But in the other countries, in Austria and Switzerland and Hungary, St. Nicholas was accompanied with very terrifying persons. There were blackamoors, there were herring monsters, and even devils, to frighten the naughty children as an example for the good ones.
Heel graag een PlayStation.
Please may I have a PlayStation?
Een Lego-trein.
A Lego train
Allemaal bestuur.
with all kinds of wheels
Een trein en er zit
and
allemaal
trains
heel
and
veel.
tracks.
Dat vind ik
That would be
allemaal
very nice.
leuk.
En als hij
After he has knocked the door, there will be a sack in front of the door with presents, and Papa will shout the presents. We are not allowed. Only Papa can do this.
Papa doet het.
Goed zitten, jongen. Anders kan je het niet zien.
Dat is leuk.
Spannend. Even kijken hoor, van wie zal deze zijn? Wauw, voor Roos.
Voor Roos, hè? Papa,
Laat me even zitten.
maak hem maar open.
Ja.
Banana Express. Wauw, de Banana Express. Dank u wel, Sinterklaas.
Oké.
Many of the customs surrounding the Christian Sinterklaas are vestiges of an older pre-Christian religion. Checking up on naughty children, riding a white horse, and children leaving food out at night can all be traced back to the Norse god Odin. He too had a long white beard and spent the year in distant land, in his case Valhalla. On the eve of the winter solstice, he would come back to Earth and seek out evildoers. Odin would lead the hunt on his great white horse, carrying off naughty children in a howl of wind. Our journey now crosses the Atlantic. And today, Manhattan is probably the epitome of the commercial exploitation of the holiday season. But it also had a vital role to play in evolving St. Nicholas into a character that has become recognized all over the world.
New York has the
When all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
Someone told me this is the only poem that all American children memorize voluntarily.
The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there.
This is the poem that transformed St. Nicholas into Santa Claus.
When what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick.
St. Nicholas lost his bishop's outfit. He lost his bishop's authority. He just became an elfin, jolly character who came not to judge, just to leave gifts.
As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot.
There's no threats of punishment. There's no fear.
His eyes, how they twinkled. His dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow.
There's no dignified, magisterial figure. There's just a jolly old man who comes and brings Christmas gifts. Clement Moore wrote The Night Before Christmas in 1822. It got published in a rather obscure newspaper, and over the following decade, it just swept America.
But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight,
Happy Christmas to all, and to all, a good night.
By 1840, virtually all Americans knew about Santa Claus.
The first exclusive book with illustrations by T.C. Boyd was published in 1848. Boyd's Santa is so small that he stands on a chair to fill the children's stockings. And then a German immigrant, Thomas Nass, created a visual image that would later become widely accepted.
It started out in 1863 when he was working for Harper's Weekly, and he drew his first Santa Claus almost as a political figure, dressed in his fur suit, but it had the stars and stripes in support of the Union Army of the North.
To a red suit. The McLaughlin children's books were not terribly careful with their color, and something that was intended to be published as a brown suit often looks reddish, and so it was a logical progression to let it evolve into a red suit. There wasn't any particular symbolism to that.
To be with family and friends. For Hen Sundblom, Santa Claus was not a dwarf. He wasn't an elf. He was a full-bodied person. This was a person who was full-size, if not larger than life. There are no bad boys and girls in Sundblom's world. Everybody's good, and everybody's going to enjoy the season because Santa's going to bring them presents. Many people think that the red uniform that Santa Claus wears developed because Hen Sundblom worked for the Coca-Cola Company and red is our corporate color. Well, that's a really fortunate accident for us, but in fact the red-suited Santa had been well established before Sundblom came along to do his interpretation. These illustrations are timeless. They're not really bound to any chronological period, and they're as relevant today as they were when they were created.
Sundblom's Santa has undoubtedly become the norm throughout the world, and there's little doubt in these young people's minds about Santa's appearance. as he puts his feet up after another busy year delivering presents around the world, children of all ages can feel comforted that Santa's long journey from Turkey through the Netherlands and the United States, making the odd detour along the way, has landed him safely in the North Pole. And even though he has lost some of his status within the Church, he is well on course to becoming mankind's most universally recognized character.